There are roughly 38 trillion bacteria living inside you right now. And after 60, the specific ones that protect your brain start to disappear. Those organisms have a name: psychobiotics. They are living bacteria that directly influence your brain chemistry, and the strains we are covering today have been studied in human trials. Most people have never heard of them. By the end of this video, you will know exactly which ones matter and why. This has been known for longer than most people realize. The gut and the brain share a direct communication line, a wandering nerve that runs from the brainstem all the way down through the chest and into the abdomen. Researchers call it the vagus nerve. What travels along it goes both ways. The brain sends signals to the gut, and the gut sends signals right back. Some of the bacteria living in your gut appear to influence what those signals actually say. The word coined for these specific organisms is psychobiotics. A psychobiotic is a living bacterium that, when present in sufficient quantities, produces a measurable benefit for the brain, for mood, for memory, for stress response. Not all probiotics qualify. The term was introduced in a paper published in 2013 by psychiatrists Ted Dinan and John Cryan at University College Cork, and it was precise by design. They were not describing the entire gut microbiome. They were describing a subset of it. In people over 60, that subset becomes more important than at any other time of life. Here's why. The gut microbiome loses diversity as it ages. Protective species, the ones that have been there since childhood, and the ones that helped regulate inflammation and produce certain neurotransmitters, start to decline. What remains is often a less stable, less varied community. This microbiome aging has been documented in studies comparing gut bacteria in adults in their 30s to adults in their 70s and 80s. The difference is measurable and consistent. What replaces the lost diversity matters, but so does what is gone. Among the species that tend to decline with age is Bifidobacterium longum. It produces compounds that interact with the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, the system your body uses to regulate cortisol, which is the primary stress hormone. A specific strain called Bifidobacterium longum 1714 has been studied in human trials at APC Microbiome Ireland. Participants who took it for 4 weeks showed lower cortisol levels in response to a stress test and reported less subjective anxiety. Researchers described the effect as modest, and it was repeatable. A different strain targets a different mechanism entirely. Lactobacillus rhamnosus, specifically the JB1 strain developed at McMaster University, acts primarily through the vagus nerve. In animal studies, it altered GABA receptor expression in the brain. GABA is the main inhibitory neurotransmitter, the chemical that quiets neural activity. When the vagus nerve was severed, the effect disappeared. That detail mattered because it confirmed the pathway. Whether the same mechanism operates identically in older adults is still being studied, though human trials with related strains have shown reductions in self-reported anxiety. Lactobacillus plantarum PS128 has a distinct profile. It influences dopamine and serotonin production and appears to increase production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, a protein essential for neuroplasticity. Early research on this strain focused on athletes and people under high cognitive load, but a separate line of inquiry has looked at older populations experiencing mood changes. Dopamine declines with age, and so does serotonin. Since the gut produces roughly 90% of the body's serotonin, what lives in your gut has a direct role in how much of it gets made. One more organism worth knowing about, Faecalibacterium prausnitzii. It does not produce neurotransmitters directly. What it does is produce butyrate, a short-chain fatty acid that fuels the cells lining the colon, and that also helps maintain the blood-brain barrier. That barrier is the membrane protecting your brain from substances circulating in the bloodstream. When it becomes permeable, what researchers sometimes call a leaky barrier, inflammatory compounds, such as interleukin-6 and tumor necrosis factor alpha, can cross it. Chronic low-grade inflammation has been associated with cognitive decline, and Faecalibacterium prausnitzii levels are consistently lower in people with inflammatory conditions. A related organism, Akkermansia muciniphila, works alongside it to maintain gut barrier function and has shown similar promise in emerging psychobiotic research. In people over 70, both are often significantly depleted. Getting these strains into the body in sufficient quantities is a separate challenge from understanding what they do. Most probiotic supplements on the market are selected for gut health in a general sense, and Lactobacillus acidophilus and Bifidobacterium bifidum are common. Both are useful, but neither is a psychobiotic. A psychobiotic supplement needs to list specific strains by name, including the strain designation, the number or letter sequence after the species name. Bifidobacterium longum is a species. Bifidobacterium longum 1714 is a strain. That difference is not minor. The research is strain-specific. Fermented foods contribute to microbiome diversity, though they do not reliably deliver psychobiotic strains in the concentrations used in clinical studies. Yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, and miso support the general bacterial community. For more targeted support, foods rich in fructooligosaccharides and galactooligosaccharides, specific prebiotics that feed beneficial strains, can be useful additions. Those include garlic, onions, bananas, and asparagus. For the specific organisms we have covered here, supplementation has been the more studied route. Dosing in most published trials ranged from 1 billion to 10 billion colony-forming units per day, taken consistently for at least 4 weeks before effects were measured. A natural question at this point is whether you can simply find out which strains you are already low in. Consumer gut microbiome tests are available. Mail-in kits that analyze a stool sample and return a report. Some people find them useful as a starting point, and that is fair. The technology is still maturing. These tests can tell you which bacterial species are present and in roughly what proportions, but they cannot yet tell you with precision what your bacterial community is functionally producing or predict how you will respond to a specific supplement. Two people with similar microbiome profiles can respond differently to the same strain. Clinicians who specialize in gut health, gastroenterologists, and integrative medicine physicians who follow this literature closely can help interpret those results in context. For most people over 60 who want to start with psychobiotics, the more practical entry point is choosing a well-sourced supplement with documented strains, taking it consistently for 6 to 8 weeks, and paying attention to how sleep, mood, and energy shift over that period. Psychobiotics don't replace other approaches to brain health. Sleep, physical movement, social connection, and cognitive engagement all have their own strong bodies of evidence. These bacteria work alongside those things, not instead of them. The gut-brain connection is real. The mechanism is biological, and specific bacterial strains have demonstrated measurable effects on mood, stress response, and cognitive function. The science is younger than the marketing that is already attached to it. Some of the most compelling findings are still in animal models. Some of the human trials are small. But the core observation, that what lives in your gut shapes what happens in your brain, has held up across enough research groups, using enough different methods, that it is no longer reasonable to dismiss. It is a relationship that has been there your entire life. The science is simply getting better at describing it. Now, if you are thinking about what else you can do at the biological level to protect your brain and extend your healthy years, the next video is going to surprise you. Science has identified 5 specific fruits that show remarkable effects on longevity, and most people are completely overlooking number 3. That one is worth sticking around for.